Hey everybody, I'm Drew with SplashPages. We're here at Terrificon, and we have an absolute legend here, Mr. Ron Garney.
Sword of omens, come to my hand. I, Lion-O, command it. Thundercats, ho! And you're watching the Dorkening.
Sir, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Doing well, how are you?
I can't believe I'm still awake. I could sleep the whole day. So,
You have a coffee bean if you need.
I wish, but I have ADD, sir, so I have all the coffee I need. So,
Okay.
all right, so the question I have, the first one is about beginnings. So unlike some people we've interviewed here who did contests and stuff, you decided, hey, I am going to go be an artist, and you go to Marvel, you have your portfolio or something, and you get it. Like, if I can recall, you went to Marvel and you got it the same day, something like that?
Well, I mean, it wasn't quite that simple. I had been working on samples for a few years, but the interesting thing is that what got me into the comics was reading this book called Secret Wars.
Right.
Mike Zeck, famous guy,
Of course.
great artist, he drew it.
Mm-hmm.
I was a bartender at the time, working behind the bar, and one of the other bartenders had the book. So I remembered it.
Right.
I remembered reading comics when I was a young boy, so I was like, oh wow, I forgot all about these.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just out of school for illustration.
Right.
So I said, oh, this would be really cool, and I loved the narrative and the short form of storytelling, and it was like movie making. I thought maybe I'd want to get into movies or something.
Right.
But I also loved superheroes and mythology, so this was perfect.
Cool.
Anyway, long story short, after absorbing a lot of old material that I hadn't read, I talked to a guy at the comic shop, and he told me Mike Zeck lived right in West Haven, and
Wow.
which was 6 minutes from my house.
Right.
So I looked it up in the phone book. I'm like, oh my God, he does. He lives right near my house.
Oh my gosh.
How weird is that? You know?
Right. Yeah.
So I called him on the phone, left him a message.
Okay.
Back then they had answering machines.
Right. Yeah. No. People call you back.
And he did. He actually called me back. And he told me to send him some samples in the mail, which I did. And he called me back, and he seemed to think I was pretty good. He told me a few things to work on.
Right.
And then he started coming to my bar, and, he would have some drinks, and he asked me if I wanted to go play volleyball. And then he asked me if I wanted to sit behind a table at a convention with him.
Oh my
And
gosh.
one of the editors from Marvel was there. And
Okay.
Renee Witterstatter, she was there.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple other people in the business.
Right.
So I was like shocked because I wasn't even in the business yet, and he asked me to sit behind the.
Right. Right.
Anyway, he finally brought me into Marvel and DC, and I had like 3 or 4 offers by the time I got home.
Oh wow. Good. Yeah, you're right. I definitely simplified that story. That was even better than I can
The
imagine.
interesting part is how close he lived to my house.
Yeah, you probably passed him like driving by and just like even like, oh, that's Mark Zeck.
And it happened to be the book I picked up was Mike Zeck.
Right.
Out of all the people I could.
Right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you've had a long career. You've done Marvel. You did DC. Are there? I feel weird asking. Did you have any favorites? Was anyone like if someone's like, we want you to do this for like 10 years, you're like, oh hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I always had favorites. The Silver Surfer was my favorite kind of. Silver Surfer Hulk. I've done all the characters that were my favorites.
Oh, okay.
And when I start each book, it kind of becomes my favorite.
Right.
At the time, I have to have that mindset. Anyway.
Right. Of course.
But I had when I graduated college, I bought a Toyota Tercel, and it was silver, and I called it the Silver Surfer. Me and my friends used to put the seats back and pretend we were riding.
Oh my God.
So
Yo.
the Silver Surfer was probably the one.
That's good.
But but I started in doing G.I. Joe was the first thing, which was an eye opener.
Right.
Because of the sheer amount of referencing I had to do in characters.
Right.
Plus Marvel had a licensing deal with it was either Mattel or Hasbro for all the vehicles.
Right.
And action figures, so it had to be exact.
Right.
To the
right.
So I remember pulling some all-nighters to get that book done, and and I remember thinking, I don't know if I bit off more than I could chew because of the deadlines and everything. And I was a nightclub guy. I was a nightclub manager for a long time, a bouncer, bartender.
Wow.
So I lived kind of like a vampire.
I was gonna say you got some Roadhouse in you, huh?
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
much,
Yeah.
It was a very tumultuous existence.
I was about to say, yeah. You roundhouse kick somebody. A couple. You gotta get a.
Well, the first time I was a bouncer, I was still in college.
Wow.
And remember having to throw somebody out, and I was all of 19 years old.
Right.
So it was kind of like, yeah, it was weird to enter that world,
Right.
Of
Yeah,
nightlife.
and probably picking up someone is not really as
yeah.
easy as look. It's like, oh, look, that's probably a test dummy,
I had
a
to
person.
do it, but it was,
Yeah, it was like
crazy.
lift with the knees, not the back.
Yeah, they got pretty hairy
All right.
at times.
So another question is that, if I'm correct, by my research, you were a costume illustrator for 2007's I Am Legend with Will Smith, and you also did the same thing for 2010's Sorcerer's Apprentice with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, that's a misprint.
That's a misprint?
I was supposed to do it.
Oh, okay.
But what happened is they, I don't know why, I think they just put it out there that I was going to be doing it.
Okay.
And then it never changed. But
Oh, okay.
What happened is I was going to do it, but my schedule couldn't permit me moving into Brooklyn.
Okay.
They wanted me to move into Brooklyn for like 3 months. With my Marvel schedule, I just couldn't do it.
Right, of course.
I had a family and kids.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So it just didn't work out, but I did do I was traveling to New York and back while I was in Spider-Man doing the movie as well.
Wow.
I was working my tail off.
Mm-hmm. Did you get it to be any behind the scenes thing? Like, did you get did you get to meet anybody? And
Absolutely.
what was that like?
Set. Sometimes I walked on set and I was standing there. It was an abandoned bank. I remember the scene. The dog had run in a building.
Oh, okay.
It was that scene, and Will ran in after him. And so I was standing there just waiting for the filming to begin, and somebody knelt right next to me. There was nobody else around. It was Will Smith. He's literally where you were.
Oh, wow.
Standing there, and
I
looked down, I'm like, okay.
All right.
So I walked from here to over there,
mm-hmm.
because and then he kept watching me, and he got up and followed me. And he goes, "Hey, man, welcome to the team." And he
Oh, wow.
and stuff. So I was like, "Oh, great, thanks."
Oh my gosh.
I gave him a Spider-Man comic for his kid.
Well, hey, listen, that's pretty cool. Like, what'd you do? I gave him a Spider-Man comic.
I brought my wife to the wrap party, and she met him. And
oh, cool.
And everything. So we had a good time.
No, well, that's awesome. So, being a huge Ultimate Universe fan, I definitely have to bring up Ultimate Captain America. You did that with
one of my favorite
Jason Aaron. Yeah, you did.
Jason's great.
Yeah, I mean, that story, you had Cap, you had Nuke, you had, which is, I think, one of my favorite things of these Vietnamese, like a village of super soldiers, and you had Nuke, who,
little kids.
Yeah, exactly, and I was just like, whoa. So what was that like, working with Jason, carving that story and redefining like a very dark character and kind of making him even darker in a way?
Well, it was very Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, that's a good,
You feel it was heavily influenced by that.
Mm-hmm.
Jason's a great writer for that. He's he has a lot of literary experience, obviously, in reading classics.
Right.
So I think that's where it was informed from for the most part.
Right.
And Nuke was kind of the Marlon Brando-ish sort of character in that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. It was fun for me personally because it was a different take, a different version of Captain America that I hadn't drawn before.
Yeah.
He's more gruff and more Punisher-like.
Yeah.
So it actually made him a little bit more intriguing in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cap's always been a badass, but to give him that extra grit was another level, especially going up against somebody like Nuke.
Absolutely.
So it was really cool, and I had a ball drawing the fight scenes.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it was
they're
great.
They're,
one of my favorites, for sure.
Absolutely. So I have to ask, because it was a big thing, BRZRKR, you working with Keanu Reeves, Matt Kint, that's just exploded, So, one, I have to ask, what is it like working with Keanu on a comic, and how do you feel about all the things you guys have in the works? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You're trying to work on a big screen adaptation. There's an anime series. There's the prequel-y book that Jason Aaron's writing. Yeah. Fistful of Bullets. How's that all been? Like, do you ever, when you're working on it, do you know? You're like, wow, this is going to be fucking huge.
Well, when they approached me to do it, it had been floundering around for about a year.
Okay.
And they couldn't get it off the ground, so they finally came to me. I wasn't actually the first artist on it.
Right.
It was somebody else, and then Raphael Grandpa, I think, was going to do it, but he couldn't.
Right.
So anyway, I just happened to get a phone call and from Boom Studios, and they said they were working on this thing with Keanu, and I wasn't going to do it actually because I was leaving Marvel. I'd been there for 35 years, and I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do, create my own stuff.
Okay.
So they asked me if they could do a Zoom call anyway, and I did, and there was Keanu staring at me when I hit the button.
Wow.
So And he was telling me, "Oh, I really love your work. I want to work with you." And so how could I turn that guy?
Oh, absolutely.
So at first I was going to take a vacation. I said, "Well, I need a couple months off because I'm so burnt out."
Uh-huh.
But they were so frothing at the mouth to work, with me, which made me feel really good, and to get it going.
Right, of course.
So I took only 2 weeks off, and then I just grit my teeth down and put the engine on.
Right.
I got it done.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, and the rest is history. And working with Keanu's been a blast. Working with Matt's been a blast.
Right.
It's I don't know if I thought it was going to be as big as it's becoming, because I can see it turning into a snowball already.
Oh yeah.
Like a big, rolling down a hill.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was going to be big just because of Keanu's name attached, obviously.
Right.
I didn't know how big it was going to get. It feels like it's getting bigger and bigger. So
absolutely.
I'm over the moon about it.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, we have the movie and the animated series, and it just keeps growing. And Todd McFarlane is now doing the toys, and so it's really great.
All right. Have you seen any BRZRKR cosplays yet?
Yeah, a couple, but not in person. I saw.
Oh, okay.
People have taken videos and they've done short films.
Right.
Things like that. So I've seen that.
Okay, cool, man. All right. Well, everybody, Ron Garney, if you don't know his work, please correct that. And if you see him at a con, he's very approachable, and he will. I'm sorry. Scratch that. He is definitely not approachable. Only give him your money. And then there you go. All right.
You guys are bothering.
All right, fine. All right, everybody. Thanks. Stay tuned. We got a lot coming. Talk to you later.